Hello, my loves. Welcome back to my channel. Keisha here. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if you like the content that is included today, and be sure to leave me a comment sharing a question or just anything that you want to let me know about what you think about this topic. So, I feel like this is a very loaded topic, and I'm just going to be sharing what my experience has been, what my truth has been, and why I think a lot of people, or women in particular, struggle sometimes when it comes to this. But I'm going to be talking about overcoming the feeling of guilt that sometimes comes up when we know that it's time for us to quit a job, leave a place that we've been working at for X amount of time, whether it's a job that was very toxic and we really hated it, or if it was a job where we built a lot of great relationships there and we may have even enjoyed the work that we did there. So either way, regardless of where you might be on the spectrum of like loving the job or hating the job, it's pretty common for feelings of guilt to still come up. And I think in particular, it's common for women, probably more than men. And I don't want to just like lump all women together and say that all women are the same, because that's definitely not true. And I'm also not saying that men don't also have feelings of guilt in this same situation, but in particular, I coach women, so I like to keep the focus on women. But a lot of women struggle with feelings of guilt in general, right? Not just related to jobs, but in general, because women are conditioned by society to kind of be people pleasers and to worry about how other people are feeling and how other people are doing and trying to make other people comfortable. So we can take on a lot of burden and carry a lot of emotional labor when it comes to maintaining relationships. And so workplace relationships are really no different. Even if we're not being treated well in a particular job, we'll still struggle with being able to quit the job because we don't want to make other people feel bad and we don't want to let people down, right? Even if your manager is a complete jerk or asshole, you might still really love your coworkers, and so you feel bad about inconveniencing them. I know I've had experiences in the past where I worked in certain places that maybe we were really short-staffed, right? And so whether one person was there or not made a huge impact on everyone else's workload and everyone else's stress levels. So I would feel bad if I knew I had to call out of work one day, or if I was considering leaving the job, because I knew that it was going to put a lot of stress on the coworkers that I was leaving behind. And I would struggle with feelings of guilt in situations like that. So regardless of what the circumstance is, I want to talk a little bit about why we feel guilty and how to decondition the good girl and people pleaser in you so that you can learn to start putting your needs and your priorities when it comes to your career first, because you deserve to be healthy, happy, getting paid well, and thriving in your career. We spend so many hours of our day and so many years of our lives working. So we deserve to be excited and energized by the work that we're doing. And if we're not, then we have every right to reevaluate that and make the decision on whether or not it's time for us to move elsewhere. So let's talk a bit about conditioning. So when I use the word condition, I'm very much using it in terms of like the psychological term, in terms of like my background as a mental health therapist. So we are conditioned from the time that we're born to behave in certain ways as women, right? And I could go very deep into this and it'd probably end up being an hour-long video, but just like certain colors that girls are expected to wear, like the pinks and things like that, and how we're expected to grow our hair long because having long hair is feminine and having short hair makes you look like a boy. So it starts showing up since birth in all kinds of ways. But in addition to that, women and little girls are conditioned to be nice, to care about other people's feelings more than boys are. We're expected to know how to make other people feel better, nurture other people, take care of other people. And so we really carry this burden of being the nurturers and the caretakers, right? And it becomes a job that you end up doing whether or not you actually consciously signed up for it or not. And this is why I think a lot of women experience a lot of stress stress that we don't even always know that we are actually experiencing, because the conditioning is so strong that we think it's normal that we're supposed to feel that way. And people can sometimes feel entitled to that. They can feel entitled to your energy and expect certain things from you, even if they're not consciously doing it. And women do it to other women too, because that's how deep the conditioning goes. And it's going to affect every area of your life. So it's definitely going to show up in the workplace, where you might be expected to do the heavy lifting when it comes to taking care of other people's emotional needs, do the heavy lifting when it comes to maybe picking up extra hours or an extra workload, because they want you to make other people feel more comfortable, right? So I have found that this tends to come up a lot more with women than it comes with men. And women struggle a lot more with saying no to things, again, because those feelings of guilt are going to come up. Whereas a man might just say no and not think about it, because a man's like, okay, well, I have a right to say no, and it is what it is. I don't want to do something, I don't feel like doing it, I'm going to say no. And again, not that men never feel guilt in situations like that, but I think it's a lot more common with women because of our conditioning. So understand that the deconditioning process, which is really starting to reduce and eliminate those behaviors that make you feel guilty, make you feel ashamed, make you feel like you're wrong for having certain boundaries, it's not necessarily going to be an easy process, because these emotions can be very uncomfortable and they can be very, very strong. When you feel guilty, feelings of guilt feel so uncomfortable that a lot of the time you will just want to give in to something just to make the uncomfortable feeling go away, right? You don't want to disappoint anybody. That's another feeling that can be really uncomfortable and painful. So we'll say yes and we'll agree to things just to avoid that. So understand that when you're going through the deconditioning process, it's going to be uncomfortable, because the emotions that come up for you are going to confuse you in terms of what is actually the truth and the reality of what's happening. Just because you feel guilty, that doesn't mean that you're actually doing something wrong. The guilt is just part of your conditioning, because you've had so many experiences across your lifetime where maybe you said no, or you set a boundary or something like that, and someone else tried to guilt trip you and make you feel like you were bad or wrong for doing that. And so over the years, you started to associate saying no and having boundaries with other people telling you you're bad or wrong, or that you're disappointing them. So your intuition, or your gut, whatever you want to call it, is always going to let you know when you're starting to do something that's not right for you, that you really don't have the energy for, that you don't have the time for, that you don't really like, that you don't even feel like doing. You're always going to get that initial instinct, right? Now, what you do from that point on is very important, because you have to make the decision on whether or not you're going to sit with the uncomfortable feelings until they pass. So when you say, I'm quitting this job, I'm putting in my notice, or you say no to something, I don't want to do this, or hey, my workload is already heavy enough as it is, I really can't take this on. And if you're like a parent, if you're a mom, this comes up a lot too, where sometimes you really have to make sure you have those work boundaries in place, because you might have young children or children at home that you also have to worry about, and make sure you have enough time and energy for them as well. So understand that when you start to assert yourself, say no, set boundaries, these feelings are gonna come up. And you have to understand that that doesn't necessarily mean that those feelings are the truth. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad or wrong for what you've done. It's just your conditioning. The truth is the truth. Fear, guilt, shame, all of those feelings that come up after you state your truth, those feelings will start to diminish, and they will start to come up less frequently, as long as you can continue to honor your truth and let those feelings pass, because they will eventually. And when you first start to do it, it's gonna be the hardest. That's when those feelings are gonna be the strongest, because you haven't been used to setting those boundaries. You haven't been used to eliminating and trying to reduce those people-pleasing behaviors at work. So it's gonna be harder in the beginning, but it does get easier over time. And you just have to remember that you are choosing to love yourself, right? Every time you say no to yourself, every time you quit something that isn't right for you anymore, you are saying yes to yourself. I think I said that right. Every time you say no to something else, you're saying yes to yourself. Every time you quit something else, you are enforcing your love for yourself. So it's very important to remember that. And putting yourself first is not selfish. That's another thing that we're taught. And like, we're not supposed to spend time on ourselves. We're not supposed to do the things that we actually want to do. We're supposed to conform and follow all these rules, even if we think that they're stupid and even if they're very toxic. That's just what you're supposed to do. And it's not true. The truth is, you have a right to do what makes you happy. And that doesn't make you selfish. It makes you someone who loves themselves, who respects themselves, someone who has high self-esteem, right? And that can never be wrong. And just because someone else disagrees with you or dislikes your choices that you're making, that doesn't mean they're right either. Just because someone's upset doesn't automatically mean they're right. It just means that maybe they're lacking their own boundaries and their own emotional intelligence because they can't respect someone else's decisions. So that's more on them. It has nothing to do with you. So deconditioning it can be a process that honestly takes years, depending on how deeply you've been conditioned, how deeply these beliefs, these people-pleasing beliefs and behaviors have been ingrained into you. It can take a very long time, but it doesn't have to. And that's the beauty of working with someone like a coach who can like be a mirror for you and point certain things out to you and help you along on this journey. I have a lot of women reaching out to me saying that they've been people pleasers their whole lives, and it's something that they continue to struggle with, and they just can't stop doing it because they can't handle like the discomfort and pain and fear and shame and guilt that comes up when they set boundaries. But I happen to feel like I have a very different approach on how I work with my clients who struggle with people pleasing. And one thing that I don't do is I don't enable any sort of victim mentality in my clients. And I think that's what makes me such an effective coach. What happens is people pleasing is a very hard habit to break because it's a habit that you get positively reinforced for. Every time you agree to do something for someone, they appreciate you, they thank you, you make them happy, right? Because you've just made their life easier. So you get a lot of reinforcement for being a people pleaser, which can become addictive because who doesn't like to receive compliments and attention and affection, right? Especially if you're someone who has struggled with low self-esteem. So when someone's giving you that and you feel good about it, it causes you to want to continue the people pleasing behaviors. So I help my clients eliminate these behaviors by not enabling their victim mentality, not enabling their idea that they're helpless and powerless to their people-pleasing behaviors, and then also helping them to see how manipulative they actually are being. Because we can see people who people please as like helpless and innocent and the victim in a situation, but really people who people please are very manipulative because they're trying to manipulate the other person to get a certain reaction or outcome, to get something that they want from that person. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm really passionate about the work that I do because people pleasing and being the good girl, if you're doing that, it's going to be showing up in your career and it's going to cause you to stay in toxic, dysfunctional, or maybe even stagnant workplace situations and careers that you've really outgrown. And it may also be keeping you from actually discovering what your true life purpose is, right? A lot of the time we're just in a job or a career because it pays the bill. It pays the bills. We just ended up there. Maybe like you become a teacher because your mom was a teacher. You become a doctor because your dad was a doctor, right? And it's not a choice that you consciously made. It's just something that you were exposed to for so many years as a child during your most impressionable years. So you decided to follow in their footsteps and do it too. That might not even be the thing that you're called to do, but if you continue to people please and be a good girl and follow the rules and make other people happy, you may never discover what it is that you were actually created to do. So this is what I help my clients with in my coaching work, is helping you discover what you're actually here to do. What were you born to do? What is your soul purpose in this world? Because once you connect with that, life becomes a lot more freeing. You feel good. You are energized by your work, right? Your work gives you energy as opposed to your work draining your energy, which is very common. And you're just lit up and excited and passionate about what you're doing every day. And when that all happens and that all ties together, we tend to get paid very well because People want to pay you for the thing that you are designed to do and that you do well and that you're excited about, because we are all energized collectively by someone who is in their purpose in life, lit up by what they're doing, passionate about what they're doing. Some of the most inspirational people in the world are examples of that for us, right? So the more people that we can get in their purpose and excited about the work that they're doing in the world, the healthier and happier of a place the world will be, period. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the video there. I could talk about this all day, but if this is resonating with you, where you feel like you've been a good girl and a people pleaser and you're kind of in a career that you don't care about, maybe it's you're in a corporate job and you're like sick of it. Maybe you've always known yourself that you were deep down a free spirit or a creative person, and your job right now doesn't allow you to express yourself creatively or anything like that. You might be in a position that's very close to what you're designed to do, but there are a couple of things that are still missing, so you're not really fulfilled in your work. There are all kinds of scenarios, but these are all the scenarios that I help my clients with. And if this is resonating, I encourage you to go ahead and contact me via the link that I'm going to put in the description box to apply for coaching. And coaching is an investment. So if you are the type of person that enjoys investing in yourself and you understand the lifelong benefits that are going to come about for you as a result of discovering what your true purpose is and then starting to live in your purpose in your career and making the kind of impact and income that you want to make, you understand that the return on that investment is limitless. And so yeah, then this is the opportunity for you, and I would be happy to speak with you more on that. I have a 2-hour coaching intensive, and I also have a 3-month coaching package. So it kind of just depends on what you want to do. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can for you. So thank you all, everyone, for watching this video. I will be back really soon with the next one. Bye.